Okay, so it's May 1st finally, and just as I predicted, the May Day celebration is off to a quote-unquote soggy beginning, a soggy start, so says Reuters. New York, May 1st, Occupy Wall Street's call for a general strike got off to a slow start on Tuesday with sparse gatherings at a handful of spots around a rainy New York City. At Bryant Park in Midtown Manhattan, about 100 activists gathered where the group had promised a pop-up encampment, emblematic of the movement's early days in the lower Manhattan Zuccotti Park near the Wall Street Financial District. The crowd soon dispersed to other locations to demonstrate, including directly across the street from Bryant Park and Bank of America Tower. About 24 activists picketed in front of the building's main entrance. One person was arrested in the middle of 6th Avenue in front of the building. So guys, how is that Occupy May Day general strike, quote unquote, going? How is the general strike of the population kicking off, huh? Well, it looks to me as if it's really not. On another blog, at least you got a lot of news people writing about the failure of it, at least, you know. And I guess in that way you're bringing attention to the movement. Another article on CNN.com says, don't go to work, don't attend classes, don't buy anything, don't do banking, don't do housework. That's the call from organizers of the Occupy movement for their general strike on May 1st. I mean, come on, man. Did you guys really think that the public was going to just strike with you? And every time that you organize one of these events, like, I remember there was another event that you guys organized not too long ago that was also a colossal failure. But every time you organize an event like this and you're seen by the public to be for what you are, just nothing more than a handful of hipsters at this point who are clinging on to this dead movement. Every time you let it be seen for what you are, the public is gonna lose faith in you. I mean, you guys just don't fucking get it. You really don't. Let me read a little bit something from this article. The core of Occupy is an anti-capitalist movement, said Ann Larson, a member of the Occupy student debt group. Most of the people who I talk to, we don't believe that capitalism is reformable. This is the key of the issue. These fucking young-ass college student, maybe college dropout, not even gone to college, hipsters want to tell us all about economic theory. Want to tell us all about the perfect economic theory. You know, over the last 300 years, wars, revolutions, dictatorships, empires, everything has been risen and fallen over the issue of which is the best economic system. Is it communism, mixed communism, capitalism? Is it capitalism? Is it fascism? So many wars and movements and huge events have been, historical events have been fought over this question. And now a group of hipsters, 20 years old or so, in their 20s, want to tell us exactly what's the perfect economic theory. They have decided for us, for the rest of us, that capitalism doesn't work. Well, Occupy, well. Thank you for letting us know that. Thank you for letting us know that. While I'm sitting here with my capitalist purchased computer and on my capitalist provided internet service, using my capitalist webcam, reading from capitalist CNN about you guys saying that capitalism is not the way to go. I'm not really for the present type of quote-unquote capitalism, which is really more of like an oligarchical control by elites. It's not capitalism what we have, it's fascism. The elites, the government, and the corporations are all in bed and controlling the rest of us. That's called fascism. So you can't say that we have capitalism here. So when you say that you're against capitalism, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Because we don't have capitalism in America. We do not have a free market economy, and this is why the Republicans are so wrong. Because they assume that what we have is capitalism, and all that one needs to do is to just make it, quote unquote. We have nothing like a free market. A free market for the exploitative elites to control and command all of us is what we have. We need more government regulation on the economy. We need real capitalism, I think, would be okay. I really don't think that the real ideas of free market and capitalism, the real theory about how they're supposed to work, is that necessarily that bad of a thing. The people are where your frustration's coming from. Don't blame an economy for being capitalist or communist or this or that. Blame the people. Blame the people whose values, whose morals, what they believe in is money or greed or power or something like this over humanity. That's the real problem. That's what your movement should be about. Humanity over greed. And that's what I think it is about, largely. So, just say humanity over greed. You don't have to say this shit like we're capitalists and shit. Do you guys not understand that when you come out and say the core of Occupy is an anti-capitalist movement, you've just disenchanted like half of the friggin', more than half of the country. You just disenchanted, disillusioned like 75% of the country who can't stay with you on your side when you say that. I was talking to some friggin' hipster on Facebook about this shit. I'm like, the Egyptian revolution, the Libyan revolution, I made the point that these revolutions, their time had come, and they had the full support of the people who had been privy to this despotic, tyrannical force for the last 30 years in their country, these dictators that had been ruling their country. Everybody was against them, except a very small population of people. That's not what we have in America. In America, we have a pseudo-democracy, so nobody really gets to blame. The right wing wants to blame Obama, and the left wing wants to blame the corporations, and they're both right, even though the corporations are the one controlling Obama, and Obama's really not doing too much anything, and the right-wingers are just kind of racist in that regard. So our country is split. We don't have a homogeneous agreement as to the way forward, as to which philosophy, as to which party, as to which ideology moving forward. So Occupy, just the more that it struggles, the more that it seems to isolate itself from everything else as it recoils into this kind of rhetoric. An expert on social movements, Foner, says that the job of protesters is to put issues out in the public agenda and change public sentiment. If public sentiment changes, political action will follow. But I talked to a person on this Occupy the Bridge San Francisco page about this stuff. I said, in Libya and Egypt, they had the popular support of the people. And the guy said, why should I care about the support of the rest of the country? This is your guys' attitude. Why should you care about the support of the rest of the country? Oh, I don't know, because you say that you're fighting for them? Or is it really just about an individualist, egoic, thing, where you want to be the activist hipster who's going to change history? That's what it seems like to me, more than anything. I mean, I'm glad that people are protesting and that they have, like, an idea and stuff. And that they've changed the dialogue in the country. Like I've said that before in my videos, that's a great thing that they've done. That's actually a very positive change that they've already enacted. But as far as that goes, after that, what else have they done? They've just remained there. And it remains to be seen whether that influence of them just sitting there has even been positive at all, or whether it's actually negative and it continues to offer Fox News, a target practice for which to shoot their slings and arrows, further dividing the country and further enforcing the power of the elites. I watched a really good discussion about May Day and about labor movements and about Occupy on Up with Chris Hayes the other day. It was on Fox News. And one of the persons had said, he was a trade unionist leader, and he said that Occupy needs to be about education, needs to be about educating people, needs to be about, and there's another lady there who's a social studies teacher, and she was saying this also, that Occupy needs to be a movement about educating people, about educating the labor in America, about labor history, labor rights, labor movements, giving people back that consciousness that they had back in the 40s and 50s, which developed all these strong labor movements and all these strong general strikes. They showed an interesting chart. It showed like the number of hundreds of thousands of people who participated in general strikes from the 40s, 50s, it was up here, and in the 70s, 80s, it went like this to less than like very small amounts of people who had participated in general strikes, because they passed some Taft-Hartley law which made it illegal to strike, I guess, or something like this. They went after the unions, and they've been solidifying the elite and bankrolling the monopolies and getting everybody into their little fascist control matrix. So, Occupy, you guys don't realize what you're going up against here, and it needs more than what you're doing. It needs to be more comprehensive, it needs to be more dynamic, it needs to include everybody, it needs to not be so narrow-minded and not so limited. I think that's just a reactionary position on your guys' part. It says here, Fauner believes that as in previous social movements, Occupy is more about changing attitudes rather than putting forth an agenda and setting goals. I think that's complete nonsense. Previous social movements, such as the civil rights movement, was that about changing attitudes? It was about changing attitudes as much as it was about concrete goals and setting an agenda, which was providing equality to black people, you know, and getting rid of segregation, all these kind of laws, which just can't, you know, exist in modern society, in my opinion. And which represent, you know, the original Enlightenment spirit of liberty, equality, justice, fraternity, etc. That's what needs to be campaigned on, that original spirit. But those hipsters and stuff, they know nothing about that. They're locked in their own little world of anarchist, anti-capitalist hatred, and it's all emotional, and, you know, so many like emotions caught up in it, which are to do with fear and hatred and ego and superiority. All that crap needs to be removed from it. And I think that that's nonsense to say that Occupy is not about putting forth an agenda and setting goals. I think that's bullshit. Occupy exactly should be about putting forth an agenda and setting goals. Realistic goals, like I said, comprehensive, dynamic, all-inclusive goals, not just we want anarchy because we're anti-capitalist. Watch and see how far that takes you, Occupy. I'm going to be watching and seeing how far it doesn't today on this May Day non-strike. One more piece of the article, the end, which is good to read. Let me read this. There is a kind of fragmentation. There are all these different modes of Occupy out there on all sorts of issues. That could wind up as being helpful to the evolution of Occupy, or it could lead to its downfall, according to Fauner. That's a great assessment. It's not clear whether this is a cumulative or actually centrifugal force and the whole thing spinning off into all sorts of different directions, Fauner said. Among this collage of ideas, two camps seem to have emerged within Occupy. There's Larson's viewpoint that the system cannot be reformed from within. We're not interested in change through electoral process or anything like that, Larson said. It makes no sense to us to put ourselves in the position of supplicants or asking for help. It concedes power. See, this is just psychobabble. You know, this is what's coming from the Occupy movement, complete psychobabble. It might work in an absolutely ideal society, man, like where there isn't the millions of brainwashed capitalists, pseudo-capitalists. See, you got me fucking saying this shit now. Not even capitalists, pseudo-fascist, monopolistic, oligarchical, neo-capitalists out there who believe in the system, and those people aren't about to enact some anarchist system. Go take your friends, make your commune or something out there in the forest, and be happy with that. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make something like that. But it just makes no fucking sense to go on talking all this anarchist psychobabble. No one's gonna fucking listen to it, dude. I'm sorry. I wish they would. I really do. But they're not going to. You have to meet them halfway. The other camp in Occupy, theists, disagrees. The framers of the Constitution put together a system that is fairly intelligent and able to change in a positive way, and I think we can make the changes that we need within the system. Theists said of creating an Occupy voting bloc in Congress. See, these are widely divergent views. It's not clear which of these schools of thought will rise to the top of the Occupy movement, or if protesters think it's even necessary. Some believe they can exist side by side and act as effective agents of change. Others think the more divergence there is among different groups, the more confusing Occupy is, and the less likely people will want to participate in the movement. That's also a really good assessment. That's so true. When people look at Occupy, they see, oh no, it's like this, not like this, and like this, and like this. And all the while they see screaming hipsters and smelly, dirty, hobo-looking people. Yeah, that's really attractive to the mainstream population. Yeah, it's going to be attractive for them so that they can ridicule it and insult it and enact their little superiority BS. So, man, try to understand human nature better. Try to understand the place where you live better. Because it's obvious that a lot of these Occupy kids are just living in a fantasy.